I was lucky enough to play in 14 county finals, including replays. And the summary, that was 8 wins, 3 draws and 3 defeats. Always enjoyed them. They were always great occasions. I suppose they were the pinnacle of the sporting year for the club. You know, for the officers, the club, the panel, the management, and you know, the greater community. You know, coming up to a county final, there was always a great sense of anticipation, sort of a tension and a tingle of excitement, if you like. Even going to the matches then, you know, going to the county finals, we always travelled. There was 4 of us always travelled together: Pat Lacey, the late Barry Murphy and Ger Sweeney. And there was never any great nerves in that car going down, I'll tell you that now. There was always a good bit of banter going. Lucky to enjoy the wins, I must say. Now, we always enjoyed the wins, but it was the experience, you know, the whole day. Like, you go down, the crowd, the crackle in the crowd, and you're going in, and, you know, the minor game, the anticipation again, you were there, and you were, I suppose you weren't really looking at the minor game, you were thinking about what was going to go on in an hour's time. And then the whole band, like, you know, the band that come out and the march, and then, you know, the hair goes up on the neck and you're ready and fire into it. And I will say the hurling that time, before you ever got down to the skill and who was the best or whatever, it was a test of your manhood and your character before you got down to the brass tacks. Specific memories, I suppose I have 3 that I was trying to distill them. There were so many good memories and experiences, but I was distilling them down. The first one is a bad memory. That was the day he won county final against the Harriers. And I remember as playing as the Ned Buggy floating a 65 in just on injury time straight to the back of the net, and we were beaten by a point. Now that stuck, definitely. That was definitely a memory. I think it was our 2nd year in a row. Rathnure had beaten us the previous year. We were lucky then, we got on a run, we won 4 in a row. You know, they were great and all that. Now, I suppose the next big memory I put in 2nd place was the year we beat Rathnure. We had drew with him, we had come, I think, from 10 points down, and we forced a draw with him. The first day we come back and we battled back well. And the second day was famous, I suppose, for the weather. I don't think there was ever a county final played in worse conditions. The rain, I remember running out in the old Wexford Park, coming down out the corner, running out onto the pitch, and the water running in over our boots. But from the first whistle we were on it that day, you know, we absolutely fired into all over the field. I just think back to lads like Paul Gann and, you know, the brother Colin and Johnny Leary, Barry Murphy again now, and Pat Kenny. Absolutely were on it. Paddy Donoghue, really, you know, as a group of men, you couldn't say enough about him. That was, I suppose, would be the second one, and we were lucky enough, obviously, to go on and win Leinster and the Club All Ireland that year. But I suppose if I was to really bring it down to my number 1 memory, I'd have to say it was 89 again Owlert, for a number of reasons. One is, I suppose, we were coming off a tough year after the Club All Ireland, and we were running on empty. We were very lucky, I think, to beat the Martins in the semi-final. I think we had a few injuries and things like that, and we got through anyway. And Owlert were sort of on a hot streak at the time, and they were coming. But I suppose what made it sort of memorable for me, I think, for any memory to be good, you have to be tested. And that county final, it was a draw, a replay, and it went extra time. The first day, I think, it was 210 to 3-7, if my memory serves me right. And my abiding memory of that day would have been the absolute physicality and the ferocity of playing against Owlert. I suppose they're our neighbours, and, you know, there was definitely a healthy rivalry between the two of us. And that day now, I would have hurled on Tomás Dunn now, and I would have went to school with Tomás, and yeah, we would have been friendly enough now. But anytime we ever met one another after that now, we always used it to get to know one another a little bit better, I suppose would be the best way of putting it. But I do remember that day now, I brought 3 hurls to the match, and they were gone at half time, and I had to get Helenda one off the brother at half time, and that ended up in the crowd in the row. After the row, and that I suppose that was the big one on the first day. There was an absolute almighty schmozzle at full time, and I think our captain Tom Dempsey played a key role in that. Now he'd tell you now that he'd be half of Owler that day now, so I don't know whether the evidence is there to support that anyway, but I think he did perform a vital service to us that day now, if I remember correctly now. The replay, probably there was a little bit, I suppose after the first day it settled a bit, and there was probably hurling broke out a little bit more the second day. And again now, my memory, we would have started well, and I think at half time we would have been going reasonably well now, but Owler got the momentum in the second half. Now Liam Dunn would have been very influential, I think, in the second half now, and the play flowed back to us, and it ebbed and flowed back and forward. But again, Tom was our captain that year, and my father used to always say he should have got 2 county medals that year, because I remember right on full time Owler were leading by a point, and there was a throw in, and Tom put the hurl down and caught the ball and actually put it over the bar to force the extra time. And I remember us coming in at just at the huddle at full time. By God, we were rocking. I have to say that now. We were the momentum had been with Owler. They were the one that I suppose that looked like they were going to win, and we were rocking. But we regrouped, and I suppose if I had one memory of that match, was after the throw in for extra time, the ball broke out, and Mick Butler. Now Mick, I suppose, was 40 years of age, if not more, at this time. The ball broke out and he picked it up and he soloed 40 yards all the way in along. And don't mind me saying it now, there was no fear of being caught for speeding on the way in, but he absolutely buried the ball in the back of the net, and that gave us the momentum. And now we went on to win, and my memory was probably not as good as it used to be, but I actually was looking at a programme last night to see what the final score was, and the final score I think was 316 to 213. We had won by 6 points, but it felt more like we had won by a point. Now the excitement. We did bring on a few fellas in the extra time. I think John Gann, Pat Kenny come on here. Now he had a very bad shoulder injury 3 weeks before it in a football game. He come on with a broken shoulder in extra time and actually played a crucial part. And Pat Lacey come on now and sort of boosted us. But I suppose at that time, a couple of things that made it memorable for me would have been the fact that we were, I suppose, after the All-Ireland in a long campaign, we were struggling, I suppose, for, enthusiasm, and we were digging deep. But I did feel that year we went absolutely to the bottom of the well, and our good neighbours played a fairly crucial part, I suppose, in asking all those questions to see what we had. And again, I suppose I look back at that team. A lot of the lads, the younger fellas, like we would have been coming, I suppose, the first team that made the breakthrough in Buffers Alley were after fading, I suppose, out of the scene substantively at that stage. And, like you'd look at, Paul Yan, Tom Dempsey's teams, they were all very successful underage, and they were coming through. You had Tom, Paul, the brother Colin was the two Donohues, John and Paddy, they all had come through, and, Fintan O'Leary. And they were the driving forces at that stage, and we still had the more experienced lads, I suppose. They still had a crucial input. And I always felt two fellas probably never got the credit, but were a crucial part. John O'Leary was Mr. Dependable cornerback, a terrier. And I suppose the other one was Seamus O'Leary. Like, Seamus was an absolute top-class forward. I suppose he lived in the shadows, a more high-profile Tony, Mick Butler and Tom. But by God, I'll tell you, he never was found wanting in any of those big games. He seemed to always come up trumps. And then, what do you say about Tom? Like, Tom, in that particular game, I have to say, both the drawing game, I suppose, he sparked the event to probably got us the draw in the first place, and he got us the point that cost the extra time. But I must say now, wonderful memories. I suppose that was the highlight. And I suppose I look back as a young boy growing up and all. I remember going to Daly games, and they were in county finals that time, and you'd be looking at Paddy Kavanagh and Jack Hall and Mick Jordan and these fellas, and you'd be hoping to emulate them and even get a chance. It used to be always my ambition, would I get a county final? And I must say I was always glad now to be part of some of those big occasions. I must say the medals are great, but the memories are special.